Have you ever sat in your quiet home office early in the morning, looking out at a life that looks perfectly fine? You have built the architecture of a good life. You have laid the bricks carefully, the career, the stability, the routines, and the responsibilities. You have checked the boxes society handed to you. On paper, you should be entirely happy. But deep down, beneath the hum of your daily schedule, there is a quiet, lingering sense of emptiness. It is a strange, invisible exhaustion. You are not physically tired from lifting heavy stones. Your soul is tired. You go through the motions of your day on autopilot, and the heaviest part of it all is the guilt. You tell yourself, "I have a good life. I have no right to complain. What is wrong with me?" If you've been carrying this silent weight, I want you to take a deep breath. You are not ungrateful, you are not broken, and you are far from alone. Now, to understand why this happens, we have to look at the blueprints we use to build our lives. The psychologist Carl Jung observed that we spend the first half of our lives constructing what he called the persona, a mask we wear to meet the expectations of the world. In our 20s and 30s, we are master builders. We construct an impressive facade to secure safety, success, and approval. We adopt our roles, the reliable one, the ambitious professional, the endless provider. But here's the profound truth about the architecture of the human spirit. The blueprint that helped you survive the morning of your life cannot sustain you in the afternoon. What you are experiencing right now is not a failure of character. It is the collapse of an outdated blueprint. When the external milestones no longer provide internal warmth, you fall into what the philosopher Viktor Frankl called an existential vacuum. You remain highly functional, yet entirely numb. You see, this numbness is not just philosophical. It's etched into your biology. For years, you have been operating under a state of chronic, low-grade friction. This is what neurobiologists call a high allostatic load. You've been pushing through, forcing the performance. Over time, this constant, silent pressure actually remodels your brain. The prefrontal cortex, your center for deep focus, becomes fatigued. Meanwhile, your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, grows hyper-reactive. Your biological circuitry is simply exhausted from running a heavy engine on the wrong fuel. Your internal reward systems have stopped signaling that this daily performance is actually worth it.
Think of a well-built house that has weathered many long winters. Over time, subtle cracks begin to appear in the walls. Your first instinct might be to simply paint over them, to patch the surface so everything looks pristine again. But the cracks are not the actual problem. They are a necessary message about the foundation. That emotional numbness you are feeling, that is not a flaw in your character. It is a profound, highly intelligent signal from your own mind. You see, your brain has literally pulled the emergency brake. When you spend years ignoring your true internal baseline to maintain a flawless external performance, your nervous system registers this disconnect as chronic stress. At a neurobiological level, this prolonged pressure forces your brain to activate a protective mechanism. It is exactly like a blown fuse in a home electrical panel. When the voltage gets too high, the fuse breaks to protect the entire house from a devastating fire. Your mind is intentionally blunting your emotions and your motivation. It is doing this because it is actively refusing to power the false self anymore. It is shutting down the system because it wants you to stop running on a treadmill that no longer serves your soul. Now, this brings us to the most crucial mindset shift you must make. You are not experiencing a breakdown. You are standing at the threshold of a necessary evolution. As we discussed earlier, building that highly functional persona required sacrifice. To become the relentlessly reliable professional, the steady provider, or the endlessly accommodating partner, You had to take other parts of yourself and lock them away. Carl Jung called this the shadow. You packed away your unscripted creativity, your need for quiet solitude, or your deepest unspoken values. You did this simply because they did not fit the blueprint of societal success. Now, in the afternoon of your life, the bill has come due. The exhaustion you feel is the heavy, invisible labor of keeping those authentic parts of yourself hidden away. You cannot cure this high-functioning emptiness by simply pushing harder or by organizing your calendar better. You cannot fix it by building another impressive room onto a house with a shifting foundation. To heal, you have to transition from chasing external milestones to what psychologists call individuation. This is the brave, quiet work of becoming a whole, integrated person. You must gently step away from the relentless will to succeed and begin the profound journey toward will to meaning.
How do we begin this repair? The answer is not a grand, dramatic life overhaul. You do not need to tear the entire house down to fix a shifting foundation. The solution begins with profound, gentle adjustments. First, we must respect your biology. Your nervous system has been running an invisible marathon for years, and you cannot demand sudden inspiration from an exhausted mind. Recovery always starts with a physiological reset. You must give yourself permission to pause without an underlying purpose. Sit in the quiet of an early morning with a warm cup of tea or coffee and simply watch the light change outside your window. No schedules, no screens, just stillness. By doing this, you are allowing your brain's overheated circuitry to cool down. You are giving your body the space to clear the metabolic waste left by chronic, low-grade stress. Once the heavy fog of physical exhaustion begins to lift, you can slowly practice what we call the micro-joy method. For decades, your brain has been rigorously trained to only value massive, productive outcomes. Now, you need to retrain your neural pathways to register small, authentic moments of presence. Think of it like a craftsman returning to the basic tools of his trade. Read a chapter of a physical book simply for the beautiful rhythm of the sentences, not to extract data for your career. Take a walk through a quiet park and actually notice the changing seasons. You are teaching your nervous system that it is safe to simply exist without having to constantly earn your worth through productivity. Finally, we must apply the timeless wisdom of Viktor Frankl. To truly cure high-functioning emptiness, you must shift your daily focus from the will to success to the will to meaning. Frankl taught that meaning is not a hidden treasure you passively find. It is an architecture you actively construct. You can build this meaning in 3 distinct ways. First, through a quiet craft or deed. Engaging in an activity that feels intrinsically rewarding, like gardening, writing, or building something by hand, where the joy is entirely in the process. Second, through genuine connection. Putting away distractions and looking at a family member or friend, not as a responsibility to manage, but as a unique human being to truly witness. And third, through your chosen attitude. When faced with unavoidable heavy days, you still possess the ultimate human freedom, the choice of how you respond. By choosing quiet optimism and presence, you stop performing for the world, and you start living for yourself. As we reach the end of this reflection, I want you to look at your life not as a problem to be solved. Instead, try to see it as a vast landscape moving into a beautiful, quiet new season. The architecture of your youth served its purpose. That relentless drive, the need to build, and the desire to meet every societal expectation. It sheltered you. It got you safely to where you are today. You do not need to look back at your past efforts with regret. But as the afternoon of life approaches, the light changes. The demands of the soul shift. What once provided a sense of security might now feel like a heavy, restrictive coat, especially in the warmth of a changing season. Taking that coat off is not a sign of failure. It is a profound act of wisdom. If there is one thing you take away from our time together today, let it be this: emptiness is not a barren wasteland. In the grand architecture of your mind, emptiness is simply a cleared space. It is a room that has finally been emptied of other people's expectations. It is making way for your authentic truth. The numbness you have carried is just a quiet pause. It is the space between who you had to be to survive and who you are now truly meant to become. You have successfully navigated the busy morning of your life. Now it is time to write the quiet, meaningful poetry of the afternoon. Please remember to be gentle with yourself. Healing a tired soul is a slow, deliberate craftsmanship. It happens one peaceful morning, one honest breath, and one small moment of genuine presence at a time. If this message brought you some comfort today, or if you found a piece of your own story in these words, please consider subscribing to TrueFlow Life. Share your thoughts and your journey in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear right now to feel a little less alone. Until next time, take care of your mind, breathe deeply, and keep flowing toward your true life.